My beloved child, a silence has been growing around you, and today that silence carries words no one expected to hear. There are moments when a truth stays hidden for a long time, not because it is weak, but because it arrives only when hearts are ready to receive it. This is one of those moments. So do not skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and every word from this moment forward is connected to what has been quietly unfolding behind the scenes. Someone who once struggled to explain their heart has finally reached a place where hiding no longer feels possible. For a long time, their thoughts about commitment were tangled in fear, memory, hesitation, and questions they could not answer even to themselves. People around them believed they understood what this person wanted. They believed they knew how this story would continue. But what was spoken recently changed that belief completely. The words came unexpectedly, in a calm moment, without warning, without drama, yet everyone listening felt the weight of what was said. Because honesty has a different sound when it arrives after a long season of silence. What surprised everyone was not only the confession itself, but the depth behind it. This person said that marriage had never frightened them because of responsibility. It frightened them because they understood how serious it truly is. They were never interested in promises made for appearance. They were never willing to step into something sacred while carrying uncertainty inside. That honesty stopped every voice in the room. And then came the words no one expected. They admitted that whenever your name entered their thoughts, the idea of marriage no longer felt distant. It no longer felt like pressure. It felt real. Stay till the end, because this is where everything begins to shift. They described how your presence changed the way they looked at future days. Not loudly. Not suddenly. But little by little, your existence began entering places inside them they had protected for a very long time. They noticed themselves imagining ordinary things they never used to imagine: shared mornings, quiet conversations, simple evenings, decisions made together, laughter after difficult days. What surprised everyone most was how detailed their honesty became. They confessed that they had tested these thoughts in silence many times, trying to convince themselves that maybe it was temporary, maybe it would pass, maybe it was only emotion. But the feeling did not disappear. Instead, it became clearer. And then they said something that made every person listening become completely still. They said that marriage, in their heart, stopped being a word about ceremony and became a word connected to peace, and that peace appeared whenever they imagined building life with you. Do not skip, because something once hidden is now unfolding line by line. There are truths people carry carefully because they know once spoken, nothing returns to the old shape. This was one of those truths. Even while speaking, their voice held the weight of someone revealing something they had rehearsed only in private thought. They admitted they had watched others misunderstand them. Some thought they were avoiding commitment. Some thought they did not believe in lasting love. Some assumed they were too distant to ever speak deeply. But what no one knew was that they were waiting to feel certainty strong enough to survive fear. And recently, that certainty began to rise. Not because life became easy. Not because every question disappeared. But because your place in their heart kept returning, even during moments when they tried to focus elsewhere. That is why everyone listening became surprised, not because they heard romantic words, but because they heard conviction. This person explained that when they think about marriage now, they no longer ask whether it is possible. They ask whether they are ready to stop pretending that what they feel should remain hidden. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There was another sentence spoken quietly, almost as if they did not expect themselves to say it aloud. They said that what they admire most is not only your strength, but the way your heart continues even after disappointment, even after delay, even after moments that would have made many people close themselves forever. That sentence changed the atmosphere completely. Because honesty becomes unforgettable when admiration is involved. And then came the revelation no one expected at all. They admitted that they had imagined what it would feel like if one day they had to explain to others why they chose you, and instead of difficulty, they felt clarity. They said they would explain that some people enter life loudly, but others enter quietly and change everything without needing attention. They said you belong to the second kind. Do not skip now, because this next truth carries unusual weight. They confessed that there were nights when they almost spoke sooner, but stopped because they feared timing. They feared being misunderstood. They feared saying something too early and damaging something meaningful before it had space to grow naturally. Yet silence became heavier than speaking. That is why these honest words finally appeared. And those words left everyone surprised because they were not dramatic. They were steady, thoughtful, and deeply intentional. They said marriage should never begin from excitement alone. It should begin where trust survives silence, where respect survives distance, where two people still matter to each other even when nothing is easy. And then they admitted something unforgettable. They said every time they imagined that kind of future honestly, your face appeared first. Stay till the end, because this story has not reached its strongest point yet. The room remained silent because no one expected such direct truth from someone who had hidden feelings so carefully. There was no performance in their voice. No attempt to impress anyone. Only sincerity. And sincerity has power people cannot ignore. They continued by saying that what surprised them most was not loving the thought of celebration, but loving the thought of protecting something meaningful with patience. They admitted that when they think about promises now, they think about loyalty, patience, growth, forgiveness, and choosing again even on ordinary days, and unexpectedly, they said your name once more. As if that name itself explained why their heart had changed. That single moment left everyone watching them speechless. Because some truths do not need many decorations. They only need courage. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. This honesty is still unfolding, and there is more that has not yet been fully revealed, because after speaking these words, they were asked one final question: what made you certain enough to say this now? Their answer came slowly. And that answer changed everything. A quiet answer came next, and the moment it was spoken, every person listening understood that this was no ordinary confession. They said certainty arrived when they realized that even during their busiest days, even when life pulled their attention in many directions, one thought returned with unusual consistency: you. That answer sounded simple, yet its weight was impossible to ignore. Because many people speak quickly about feelings, but very few admit what remains in their heart when no one is asking questions. This person explained that they had tried many times to understand why your presence remained so steady inside their thoughts. They expected it to fade. They expected time to reduce its meaning. But instead, it became stronger, calmer, and more deeply rooted. Do not skip, because what they said next left everyone completely silent. They admitted that there were moments when they imagined standing in front of others one day, not explaining love, not defending emotion, but simply saying, "This is the person I trust with my future." And what shocked everyone was how naturally those words came. There was no hesitation when they said it. No uncertainty. Only a kind of calm honesty that cannot be created unless it has lived quietly in the heart for a long time. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Then they shared a memory, one small detail they had never spoken aloud before. They remembered a moment when you were simply being yourself, unaware that anyone was observing deeply. Nothing dramatic happened. No grand event. Just a small ordinary moment. But they said that moment stayed with them longer than expected because it revealed something rare: sincerity without effort. They explained that many people know how to appear impressive for a moment, but very few remain genuine when no one is watching. That was the first time they began asking themselves whether what they felt was becoming more serious than they wanted to admit. And from that day onward, every thought about marriage began changing shape. At first, they resisted it. They told themselves it was too soon to think deeply. They told themselves not to attach meaning too quickly. But every time they tried to dismiss the thought, another truth appeared: peace followed whenever your future entered their imagination. That peace became impossible to ignore. Do not skip, because the next revelation surprised everyone even more. They confessed that someone once asked them privately what kind of person they would choose if they ever decided to marry. Instead of giving an ideal description, they stopped speaking for several seconds. Because in that silence, they already had one person in mind. And that silence itself became an answer. Later, when they reflected on that moment, they understood why they could not speak easily, because describing what they wanted kept leading them back to qualities they had already seen in you. Patience. Quiet strength. A heart that still remains soft without becoming weak. A mind that carries depth even when surrounded by noise. Those were the exact words they used. And everyone listening began understanding why this honesty felt so powerful. It was not sudden emotion, it was accumulated truth. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Then came another sentence spoken with unusual seriousness. They said marriage should never be built only on beautiful days. It must also survive misunderstandings, long waits, uncertain seasons, and ordinary mornings when nothing extraordinary happens. Then they added something no one expected. They said the reason your name remains important is because whenever they imagine difficult seasons, they do not imagine distance, they imagine conversation, patience, and staying. That single sentence changed the entire mood. Because staying is a word people rarely use honestly anymore. And when spoken with meaning, it carries enormous weight. They admitted they had watched many stories fail because people loved excitement more than depth. But what they now desire is not noise, it is something steady enough to endure. And for the first time, they openly said that your presence feels steady to them. Do not skip now, because what happened after this was unforgettable. Someone asked whether they were afraid to say all this openly. They smiled and answered that hiding meaningful truth eventually becomes heavier than speaking it. That answer surprised everyone again. Because the person speaking had once been known for protecting every serious feeling behind silence. Yet now, the words continued. They said that if marriage ever begins in the right way, it should begin where two people already carry respect before promises are spoken. And they admitted that respect was never difficult when it came to you. Even in silence. Even in distance. Even in unanswered moments. That respect remained. Stay till the end, because the strongest words came near the end of that conversation. They revealed that one of the reasons they stayed silent so long was because they did not want to speak before understanding their own heart clearly. They believed careless words create unnecessary wounds. So they waited until honesty became undeniable. And now that honesty had reached that point, they said if life ever offers them the right moment, they would rather step forward with sincerity than lose something meaningful through hesitation. The room became completely quiet. Because everyone understood they were no longer speaking in abstract thoughts. They were speaking about something real enough to imagine. Then came the line no one forgot afterward. They said, "Some people change your future before they ever know how deeply they have entered your thoughts." And again, your presence stood at the center of everything they were saying. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. What remains hidden is that this honesty is still incomplete, because after all of these words were spoken, one final unexpected question appeared. If the right moment came sooner than expected, would you be ready to stop waiting? For the first time, they did not answer immediately. But their eyes gave away that the answer already existed. For several quiet seconds, nothing was spoken, yet that silence said more than a long explanation ever could. The pause itself became unforgettable, because everyone watching closely understood that some answers do not appear quickly when they carry real weight. Their eyes lowered for a moment, then returned with a calm expression. That revealed something had already settled deeply inside. And then the answer finally came. They said that readiness is not a sudden feeling. It is something built slowly, through reflection, through watching, through learning whether a person remains meaningful even when time moves forward and life changes shape. That answer immediately changed the atmosphere again. Because it was not an emotional answer. It was thoughtful, careful, and deeply intentional. Do not skip, because what came next felt like a once-in-a-lifetime revelation. They admitted that there were days when they intentionally created distance, not because feelings disappeared, but because they wanted to see whether absence would reduce what they felt. But the opposite happened. Distance did not weaken the thought of you. It clarified it. They said that every time they stepped back, something unexpected occurred. Your value became easier to see, not harder. That truth surprised everyone more than any previous sentence. Because most people expect distance to cool emotion, yet for them it uncovered something deeper than emotion. It uncovered significance. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Then they revealed a detail no one had ever heard before. They confessed that there was one particular evening when they almost spoke honestly much earlier than they did now. The words were ready. The moment was near. But they stopped themselves because they believed timing matters when speaking about future promises. They did not want important words to arrive in a careless moment. So they waited. And that waiting became part of the reason this honesty now feels so powerful. They explained that meaningful decisions deserve calm thinking, not temporary excitement. And because marriage is not a word they use lightly, they refused to speak until every thought had passed through silence many times. That level of seriousness left everyone deeply surprised. Because suddenly, what they were revealing sounded even more real. Then came another sentence that stayed in everyone's mind long after the conversation ended. They said that whenever they imagined explaining their future to their own heart years from now, they knew they would regret silence more than sincerity. That single sentence changed everything. Because regret speaks differently when honesty has already matured inside someone. Do not skip now, because the strongest truth had not yet arrived. They continued by saying that your influence entered their thinking in ways they did not notice immediately. Certain decisions became calmer. Certain reactions became softer. Certain hopes began returning after long periods when they had stopped expecting much from emotional connections. They admitted that this surprised them too. Because they never planned for someone to affect them this quietly and this deeply. And yet it happened. Not through dramatic words. Not through pressure. But through consistency, presence, and something difficult to explain, an inner trust they could not deny. Stay till the end, because something rare is being revealed line by line. Someone then asked what exactly made your place different from everyone else they had known. Their answer came without hesitation. They said the difference is peace. Not temporary excitement. Not confusion. Not uncertainty. Peace. They explained that with many people, conversations may feel interesting, but afterward the heart remains unsettled. Yet with you, even silence leaves clarity. That answer surprised everyone because it sounded like someone describing not only affection, but recognition. Then they added something even more unexpected. They said peace is dangerous in the best way, because once a person discovers it in someone, pretending not to value it becomes impossible. That sentence stayed hanging in the room. Because everyone understood they were no longer speaking from possibility. They were speaking from realization. Do not skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. After that, they shared another hidden truth. They admitted there were moments when they wondered whether speaking honestly might change everything too quickly. They feared expectations. They feared attention. They feared that once words were released, they could never return to quiet observation again. But eventually they understood that silence was already changing everything anyway. Because the heart had already moved. That realization became the reason honesty finally appeared. Then they said something no one expected to hear so directly. They said if marriage ever becomes part of their future story, they want it to begin with someone whose presence already teaches calm before promises are made. And again, every road in their words returned to you. The room remained silent because everyone understood how rare such honesty was from someone who had protected their thoughts for so long. Then came one final surprising admission. They said they had imagined one ordinary future moment many times, a simple day, no celebration, no crowd, no noise, just two people speaking about life while understanding they chose each other with full awareness. And strangely, every time that image appeared, your presence remained there. That image never changed. Stay till the end, because the final revelation of this part carries unusual depth. At the end of the conversation, someone quietly asked whether they believed your heart would understand this honesty if the day came when all words became direct. They smiled very slightly before answering. And their answer was slow, careful, unforgettable. They said, "Some hearts understand truth long before truth is fully spoken." After hearing that, no one asked another question. Because everyone knew there was still one deeper answer they had not fully revealed yet. What they are preparing themselves to say next may change everything even more. A deeper quiet settled after those words, the kind of quiet that appears only when everyone feels that one final truth is standing very close, waiting to be spoken. No one interrupted. No one tried to change the moment. Because it had become clear that what was about to come next carried more meaning than everything already said. Then, with unusual calm, they continued. They said there is one reason they had guarded these thoughts longer than anyone realized. They never wanted important words to arrive before they were strong enough to stand forever in memory. That sentence alone changed the feeling in the room again. Because everyone understood that this was no passing emotion. This was someone speaking from a place where thought had already become decision inside the heart, even if not fully declared yet. Do not skip, because what came next left everyone deeply surprised. They admitted that they had once believed their future would be shaped entirely by logic, timing, and personal plans. They thought feelings would always remain secondary, controlled, measured, distant. But then something happened they did not expect. Your presence entered that carefully arranged thinking and slowly began changing priorities they never imagined changing. Not loudly. Not suddenly. But with quiet strength. They explained that there were moments when they noticed themselves protecting thoughts connected to you even in private conversations where your name was never spoken. That realization startled them because it showed how deeply your place had already formed. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Then they revealed one of the most unexpected truths yet. They said they had asked themselves a difficult question many times: if one day life offered a serious turning point, whose voice would bring calm instead of confusion? And every honest answer kept leading in one direction. That answer surprised everyone because they spoke it without hesitation. They said your presence carries something rare, clarity without pressure. And they confessed that clarity is what made marriage stop feeling distant. For a long time, they had associated marriage with uncertainty because they had not seen enough honesty around them. Too many promises around them looked temporary. Too many beautiful beginnings lacked depth. But now their thinking had changed. Because they began imagining what happens when trust appears before promises, when peace appears before plans, when respect exists before words become official. And once again, every thought returned to you. Do not skip now, because the strongest sentence was still waiting. They said there is a difference between admiring someone and quietly realizing they may belong inside your long future. That sentence immediately became unforgettable. Because everyone listening understood how serious those words were. They were not speaking about passing affection. They were speaking about permanence. Then they added another detail no one expected. They confessed that there were moments when they imagined hearing others ask, "What made you choose this path?" And in every imagined answer, one truth remained the same: they would say they chose what felt honest, calm, and worthy of lasting effort. That honesty made every listener even more silent. Because sincerity always becomes stronger when spoken without decoration. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Then came a memory they had never shared before. They remembered a day when they were surrounded by many voices, many opinions, many distractions, yet one small thought unexpectedly returned: if life became difficult, whose presence would still feel like home to the heart? They said that question stayed with them far longer than expected. And slowly, that question began changing how they understood commitment itself. They admitted that marriage should not begin where people seek escape from loneliness. It should begin where two people already know how to value peace, patience, and truth. Then they said something so quietly that everyone leaned closer to hear it fully. They said your name had become connected to that understanding. That single line carried extraordinary weight. Because sometimes the quietest words leave the deepest mark. Do not skip, because the next revelation changed the room completely. Someone then asked whether they believed such honesty should remain hidden any longer. For the first time, they answered immediately. They said hidden truth eventually becomes heavier than spoken truth, especially when the heart has already accepted what the mind spent months trying to question. That answer felt like a door opening. And what followed confirmed it. They admitted they no longer fear the seriousness of marriage the way they once did. What they fear now is allowing a meaningful possibility to pass simply because words arrived too late. That sentence shocked everyone. Because it revealed urgency, not pressure, but the understanding that some moments deserve courage before silence becomes regret. Stay till the end, because one final confession remained. They said there is one image they cannot erase anymore. A future moment where no audience exists, no explanation is needed, no performance is required, only two hearts speaking honestly after long patience. And in that image, nothing feels forced. Everything feels peaceful. That is why the thought has remained. That is why the honesty has grown. That is why these words now exist. Then, after all of that, one final question appeared. If the right day came sooner than expected, would they finally speak directly without holding anything back? This time they did not look away. And their answer came with complete calm. They said, when truth becomes this clear, silence cannot stay forever. After that answer, no one spoke for several moments. Because everyone understood that something even closer is now approaching. A moment where honesty may no longer remain indirect at all.